What's up? This is Ajaaya, and you are listening to my podcast, Trigger Happy, brought to you by A Very Good Life, which is a spiritual lifestyle brand. We assist you in transmuting your darkness into light, inspiring you to move forward out of the past into a new beginning, rebirthing your true self, transmuting trauma into goodness and fundamental happiness, and connecting with your ancestors, connecting with your inner guidance, and just assisting you while you are unraveling that labyrinth inside of you. And so this intro might sound discombobulated from the rest of the segment, from the beginning of the rest of the segment, but I sounded so drowsy and unconfident because I probably was feeling unconfident because this is new to me. So please forgive me and give me a little bit of grace. All right, moving on to the rest of the podcast. Thank you. And then you realize that you're responsible for all of it. And that's when you really become more empowered. The more responsibility you take, actually, the more empowered you will be. And that's really what we all want. We don't want to feel small, right? We don't want to feel like underneath the current of life. We don't want to feel like we're victims, but sometimes we get addicted to feeling like a victim. And I was watching some music videos and stuff today because I grew up singing's in my blood. My grandmother is, I'll say is a gospel singer because nobody's really dead to me. And then my great aunt, she is a jazz lounge singer. Everybody in my family is very shamanic and musically talented and healers. And I mean, some not necessarily everybody have come from a place of light. Some people have gone into the ignorance, the darkness, So I was looking at music videos and just kind of reading people's energies because that's what I do. And I was like, wow, I can see how some people let their past hold them back. Even some superstars, they might not have reached the places of stardom that they could have reached if they didn't have their past holding them back, And then I started thinking about myself, and I started thinking about the collective in general. It's like, wow, that it helped me realize that the reason why the world is the way it is, and the karma that we keep reliving over and over again is because we can't let go of the past. And I began to let go of the past. And I'm like, what if I were to live how my soul actually intended for me to live without fear? And that just kind of changed my whole frequency. And then life just became a bit easier in the moment. So let's kind of breathe into that. Let's see. If you could just be lifted out of your muck and mire that you think that you're in, or you have been trying to fix, because oftentimes the reason why there's stuckness is because we're continuously trying to fix things that can't be fixed, especially relationships with people. Because I feel like we want redemption. I know I want my name to be clear. I want your name out my mouth. And I want you to clear my name. Right? We want permission to be better than we were, better than we have been. We want to be set free from our enemy. We want our enemies to change. heart, to have a change of heart towards us, because we honestly take on a lot of the darkness that people may project onto us. You'd be like, well, maybe I am a bad person. And I also, along with living in the past, there's also a lack of forgiveness of the self. Why couldn't you forgive yourself? I want you to breathe into that. Why couldn't you forgive yourself? What's stopping you? What's so good about the past, or maybe some past behaviors or character flaws that you have to hold on to them? And how long are you going to hold on to those things? How much longer? Have you been holding on to them for 2 years, 20 years, 15 years, 25 lifetimes, 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes? Now, what's your time limit? See, these are questions I ask myself when I'm like working with my own energy. Be like, how long? Because I think you've suffered. If you had a jail sentence, if you were put yourself in like karmic hell, imprisonment, because of the bad person that you've been, have you served your sentence yet? Could you allow yourself to maybe start over again? We're really quick to give like girlfriend and boyfriends second chances, but we give ourselves like 0 leadway. And when you begin to truly have compassion for yourself and forgive yourself, and it might cause you to cry. Some of us don't want to give up the ghost of our emotional body. You're holding your tears hostage. Take a deep breath. Yeah. And so my our podcast really is for the peoples. We'll talk about stuff like this, trigger happy. Well, a lot of us are trigger happy. We get triggered so easily. We jump up out of our skin when we feel like someone has looked at us wrong. But those triggers are coming from within you. And vice versa. When someone is having a adverse reaction, quote unquote, to you, they're responding to the sensations that come up in their body. No one can make anyone do anything, really, or feel any type of way. All of the and what taught me that the most was going to silent meditation retreats. I remember the first day. It's called Vipassana centers. They're all over the world. Just look it up, Vipassana. I remember the first day of silence. I realized how crazy I was, and then immediately I cut it out. I was like laughing at myself, because in the silence, if those of you who haven't been, I'll explain a little bit. You're not allowed to look anybody in the eye. There's no niceties of saying hello, good morning, how are you? None of that. There's no you're in your own little world. Amongst that makes me want to go back. I haven't been in so long. I've been twice. I went once to sit. They call it sitting when you go to meditate. And you meditate for 3 hours a day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once at night. And you can meditate for longer than 3 hours if you want. But it's you're in silence for like damn near 2 weeks. And I never wanted to leave, honey. I was like, I'm not done. After the 2 weeks are over, I felt so transformed. It clears away karma. I mean, it's everything, because you're not killing anything. You're not lying. You're not like going against your soul. The tongue will cause you this. See, it's not the tongue that does it. It's your own inner quality. And so that's what I've always used my triggers for, to show me what my inner quality is, and then take responsibility. If I have a low quality of being, if all my responses to life are violence, or even if it's on the inside, like some people are silently triggered and other people are more overtly triggered. It's all the same. And you can't hide from your inner misery, and so we're going to use our triggers. We're going to take responsibility for our inner quality. And how you do that is you sit with the sensations, which is why when I say something triggering or maybe something insightful, I'll tell you to take a breath and maybe become aware of some of the sensations that are coming up. And so some people be like, well, how do you do that? Well, sensations are what give you a signal of how something is affecting you. And most of the time, triggers are intense sensations that are brought upon by something occurring in the present moment that reminds your nervous system of something that happened to you in the past. So say someone that you feel like you would like kindness from, or that you would like to experience like gentleness or pleasant, harmonious relationship with, which is what we put upon other people to supply for us most of the time. And that's a really good example. Most of us want our partners, friends, bosses, co-workers, associates to be angelic people. We want the utmost listening, the listening skills. We want the utmost healing skills from people that we're in relationship. We want them to be like the perfect specimen for us to be able to get our needs met from. Why is that? Because a lot of people have not gotten their needs met in childhood. Why is that? Because the quality of beingness, of life, of person has gone downhill. Why is that? Because people value the outside of themselves, materialism, prakriti is what it's called in Hinduism. The destructible matter of life matters more to people than the inner quality of the real, the indestructible, the eternal, the soul. So therefore, there goes the downfall of humanity. When there's no intimacy with eternity, with your soul, then you don't have that to pass on to your children. So it's just kind of like a really heavy cycle that keeps on going over and over again. So you're in relationships with people and you have this high expectation of people to give you what you never had or what you've been missing. Fine, there's nothing wrong with that. The other side of that, though, is that you think that you are giving other people what you don't have, or you're giving other people what you didn't have. You might be, and that might be a problem as well, that you are trying to, that you are being a great listener so that someone else can be a good listener to you. So that causes suffering as well, doing things, wanting something in return, instead of it being your true quality and your true value on the inside. And so why do you stay in an abusive situation then? Because then you'll have to face the wounds of abandonment and feeling alone and never getting your needs met. And so what are these triggers that are coming up to be healed? It's it's the defiance and the anger and the rage of like, how dare my mother not give me what I need? It's like that toddler, the infant, the young kid, the teenager that never really got a chance to be validated, seen or heard or mirrored. And so validation would look like, you know, hey, mom, look at me. Oh, girl, you're so cute. That's a cute outfit. Look at my drawings. Oh my gosh, you're such a good drawer. Mom, I think I want to be a writer when I grow up. You do? Let me see your writings. Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. That's validation and encouragement and support. Okay? A lot of people didn't get that in childhood. And what's mirroring? So mirroring would be your caretakers and people who love you and are in your space every day. Because children absorb their environment. They absorb energy. They're taking it in, you know. And so whatever your quality is inside of you, you were born into it. You can't help it. And so some people would love to be more refined than they are, but so the process is even more painful for someone who knows maybe that they're suffering. So mirroring is when your caretaker comes down into your world, at your level of development and allows you to be just the way you are without screaming and screeching at you to come up to their level. A lot of parents, they'll be like, they won't teach you how to wash dishes or how to watch your brother and sisters or how to sweep or mop or whatever it is that their expectations are. They'll tell you to do it, and if you don't do it right, they holler at you as if you're a 35-year-old grown ass man who's getting paid $50 an hour for the job, and that's not fair. And so you'll have all these different levels of obtrusions in your nervous system, in your psyche, and in your body that you're trying to calibrate in adult relationships when you never really had a good example of how to respond to people from a place of peace and balance and wholeness and harmony, because that wasn't your environment. So you have expectations of yourself and other people that are unrealistic. And so that's what we'll be discussing in this podcast: how to actually retrieve the fragments of your broken soul. Because all those experience I described are shocking to the nervous system. And that's the definition of trauma: to be shocked in a way that has an uncomfortable impact. I'm replacing the word negative with uncomfortable, by the way, because most people would say negative. I don't like that word. Negative does not mean what we use it for. I would say uncomfortable. Your nervous system have had shocking and uncomfortable experiences, so therefore you don't feel safe inside of your own body. So you'll focus your attention on the outside, which would be called projecting, which would be triggers. So as a mature adult, that's what the shamanic journey is. It's basically a maturation process. When I see healthy parenting, I see parents who train and take their children through the shamanic journey at a young age and take them through challenges that are beneficial to their soul growth, to their mental health, to their emotional body at a young age, so that when they get to certain stages of development, they're prepared. Because being a husband and a wife and a caretaker is a stage of development. It's not necessarily something that you can just know how to do if you haven't been prepared up to that point. which is why even if you think the thoughts, I'm going to be different than my parents, it doesn't work that way, because you're thinking thoughts with a certain part of the mind that has nothing to do with the biggest mind that you've got. Your body has its own mind, separate from the thoughts that feel no pain. Like when you're thinking right now, as we're having this discussion together, the thoughts that you're thinking don't feel any pain. So they can't really direct your life. So you have to drop down into your body to see what's actually going on with you. That's what's really going on. The sensations you feel in your body, what your body is trying to communicate with you and with the outside world, or the lack thereof. And so if you're trying to drop down into your body and you feel nothing and you feel numbness, first of all, that's a sensation too. Numbness is a sensation. Everything is a sensation. Or else, how do you know you feel numb? You can feel it, right? There's a signal going to your nervous system, and a response that your brain has that says numb. It happens really fast. You don't have to think about it. So you can start off with just sensing the numbness and sitting with that. And that could be what you start off meditating on, because a lot of times people say, where do I start? Well, let's start off with what's triggering you the most. When's the last time something has gotten on your nerves to the point to where you either are writing in your journal about it, you're talking to yourself about it, you're crying about it, or you're going off on somebody about it? You're either holding it in, or you are expressing it in some way. You're acting out in some way if you don't know that you are how to take responsibility for your triggers. That's how you know if something's bothering you. It's coming from within. Anything. And sometimes it's the people that you don't like the most, that get on your nerves the most. Oh, you guys are mirrors for each other, and you might not want to hear it, but if you just kind of stopped and slowed down and calmed down and just asked your soul, your guides, your intuition, your inner self, your higher mind, God, whatever it is, the goddess, whatever it is you want to call that magical aspect of being human, consciousness, really, your own consciousness. What is it within me, that is causing me to react the way I do to this situation, this person? How are we alike? If you want to know, just ask. But some of us get so caught up in the drama of it that you don't stop to ask, and so you won't never know. And some things can be going on for years and years. And it's amazing how if you just ask, it can end all the drama. You'll be like, well, damn, I could have did that a long time ago. Well, now you know. And if you don't, if nothing comes to you, you can do this. You can take a deep breath through your nose and then open your mouth wide as you possibly can and let out the air slowly, like. And that, like, honestly puts you into this state of like deep meditation immediately. I don't know how that works. I got that from the psychologist, the Viceland show, where he be giving therapy sessions to hip hop artists, or just, I guess, artists who were in a spotlight in general. I got that from him. It works. Yeah. I am enjoying this. I love this. Is my favorite subjects to talk about is energy, because it's scientific to me. It's very impersonal. So if you can get to the point to where you don't take your triggers personally, you're on your way, sensei. If you get to the point to where you don't take the energies that come up personally, like if you feel attacked, you'd be like, that's interesting. Instead of, I'm gonna get that bitch back, you best believe that's, it's going down. I mean, like, I'm not saying that there's never a cause to stand up for yourself, but wouldn't you rather stand up for yourself in a place of harmony within yourself, a place of balance, so that you can stand up for yourself classy based? You know what I'm saying? And instead of the other options, ratchetity, wouldn't you rather be like, have a choice of how you would like to respond, if you want to respond at all? What's the highest and best way, or what is the most loving way to respond? Should you move away from that person? Is it worth it? I'm just saying, instead of having an automatic response, and not have self-understanding, because self-understanding is everything. Self-understanding is part of the maturation process. Self-understanding, just having a vantage point where you know yourself. I mean, when you know yourself, that means you have gone through the process of taking responsibility for your part of life, what you can do, who you are, how you show up in the world, the energy that you give off. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying, what am I not saying? Nothing. I'm going to shut up, because there is, the Bible says that there is a perfect peace that is beyond understanding. And that's true. And you'll get to the point to where there will be some parts of you that are unfragmented, that you have retrieved your soul. Because I'm basically teaching you how to do soul retrieval every day of your life. That's how you retrieve your soul every day of your life. And so how do you give yourself the validation and the mirroring? Well, journaling is perfect. You can tell your subconscious, your body, sending your soul a message that you care enough about yourself to care about what you're thinking and how you're feeling, just like you want other people to do. Well, you have to do it first. You have to do it the most. You want to know why? Just imagine. I'm telling you things that have helped me. It might help you. I imagine that everybody that I blame for all of my issues have died tomorrow. I would still be here with myself. No matter who comes and goes, I'm going to be with myself until the day I die. So you're basically creating an environment for yourself that you can live with yourself. A lot of us want other people to be okay and live with us the way we are, but we can't even live with ourselves. We don't even really enjoy being in our own company. So you're basically trying to get yourself to the point to where you like and love and understand yourself. Now, some people will be like, well, does that mean I can't be in a relationship? Go ahead and try it. I mean, it'll make things a bit more challenging, especially if you're not with someone especially if you're in a relationship and you're like trying to get someone to be on the same page as you and do things the way you're doing them at the pace that you're doing them at. I'm not saying that it hasn't been done. I've seen it done. It's challenge. I mean, it's challenging. It can be done. But 9 times out of 10, it ain't going to work. You'll end up more focused on the other person. If you don't have a great relationship with yourself, and then you don't really know your boundaries, and you don't know if you're tripping or not. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone you're in a relationship with is asking you to meet some of their needs, and you don't really understand your own needs, you won't know if those needs actually belong to them, for them to take care of, or for you to take care of. So you might just do things out of being legalistic or going through the motions, but it's best to have a soul connection. That way you're being authentic, and you're actually like truly involved and present in the relationship that you're in. So I don't tell people what to do, but you can tell kind of by my hesitation that I, if I was going to give someone advice, if their ego wasn't going to rip my head off, then I would be like, and they were actually okay with my response for real. I would say it would be best if you went at it alone for a while. I will say this: most people that have these types of cognitive and spiritual psycho emotional imbalances, most likely codependent, and haven't, either you have stayed away from relationships because of your fear of intimacy, or you are constantly in relationships because of your fear of being alone. But either way, you're not really experiencing the type of intimacy that is healthy for two adult, mature people who are self-actualized, or on their way to becoming self-actualized. And how do you know what that looks like or what that feels like if you have not been around it, and if you have not developed that within yourself? So basically, you're going through the process of developing yourself from whatever age that your growth was stunted. For some people, that was before birth, like me. Like my trauma started before I was born. My mother got kicked out while she was pregnant with me because my great grandmother and my grandma were like, if you so grown to get pregnant. As soon as she graduated, her bags were on the doorstep, and then she was homeless. And then there was trauma when I was born. I mean, some people, it started at birth, before birth. Some people, they had a beautiful infantry, and as toddlers, they felt loved, secure, and kept, and then abuse didn't start, or whatever trauma didn't start till 7, 8, 9. So everybody's different. So how do you find that out? You go within, especially while you're triggered, and most of the time, the deep healing process starts if you decide that you're going to get rid of everything, all of your vices. That means men, women, sex, masturbation, drugs, alcohol, partying, like all the distractions, food, being just super busy for no reason. What else? Doing things because other people want you to, but not really knowing if you really want to. Are you living your life that you want to live? Or are you living for other people? What else have we used here? I've done it all. And so, but when I was really serious about changing my life, I got rid of everything. And then everything came up to the surface. Woo! And that's when the healing process and the triggers are really revealed, when you're no longer suppressing and using. And the next episode will be about the inner child, because that's what we're doing when we suppress our feelings and try to shove down the feelings of abandonment and loneliness and fear. I was so afraid of being alone. You don't have any idea. I was like crawling the walls. I mean, when I look back, I want to cry at what I went through. Not as a child, but as a young adult, going through her healing process by herself. I mean, okay, fine. I did have a couple of mentors on the outside, but they weren't with me 24/7 every day. I probably called them like once in a blue moon because I didn't want to bother everybody with all my screams and crying and bad dreams and sweating in the middle of the night and waking up feeling like somebody's standing over me with a knife and like all of it's like a nightmare. It was a night. It was a complete nightmare, and I'm laughing about it now. But I cried every day for a year. Once I started crying, I could not stop, and because that was how much mourning I needed to do. So we'll talk about the inner child, because that's the being inside of you, the real you that went through all that suffering, and that's the part of you that is taking the brunt of all the extra abuse that you're heaping on by not wanting to feel your feelings and listen to that part of yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for this first episode. I am working on like a workbook and definitely progressing on how we can heal as a collective, because it's not, we all affect each other. We're all triggering and pointing fingers at each other, child. You know, once one of us heals, you pass it on. That's why I share, because there's not too many people for me to hang out with. Like after you get finished healing and you find yourself and you become self-actualized, what else is there to do if everyone is in pain? We're all brothers and sisters, mother, father, we're one. So that's why spiritual teachers and gurus and stuff exist, because unless all of us are healed, I mean, the world's still full of suffering. What are you going to do? What are you going to do but continue to pass on the lessons that you've learned, and sing and dance and make friends and stuff where you can get some enjoyment out of life, but mostly all of us are suffering here. So peace to you. I don't know what else to say. I'm not good at endings or marketing myself. What can I say? Oh, my website. Everything will be in the description as I remember as I upload all this stuff. Peace.